So how many brackets do you actually fill out?
For me, I did 2 this year.
Okay.
I did one that cost me $10. Me and the wife, our fantasy football league that we do, we decided to do, it's all couples. So it's like 6 or 7 couples that do this fantasy football league. And my buddy's like, hey, you want to do a bracket? Yeah, sure, why not? So we're doing that one. And we did it through ESPN, which I don't like as much because CBS Sports gives you...
ESPN sucks, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
I just want to say that officially for the record.
We've had a lot of that lately.
Yeah,
so,
ESPN just sucks.
The CBS Sports outlet for it, though, I like a lot better because you get the population's insight. Oh, 35% are voting for this, 65% are voting for that. It gives me a little insight on possible upsets.
All right, so he mentions ESPN. He mentions CBS. But yet, what about Fox? Okay, Fox Sports.
I don't know that I've ever
Fox
done
Sports
one.
was on just before we came on. What the hell?
So I'm not very good at it, but I somehow managed to make it work.
Gotcha.
I'm usually okay.
Yeah.
6 out of Elite Eights, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
So
Wags, you're not that guy, are you?
No,
you know what I mean by that guy? That guy that when he looks at the bracket and goes, I don't have time to fill this out, so you hit autofill.
Oh, no,
it
no,
does
no.
it for you.
No,
You're not that guy, right?
No, I don't do the autofill.
Okay,
but
good. All right, just want to make sure.
I've changed it up this year. So I've done one that down with one of the teams that we know down in spring training, you pay $100 and you get a team
okay.
Right.
in the field. And I got St. John's.
Okay.
So I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Teams, then the guys know. Then there's another one that you pay X amount of dollars for, and you get 2 numbers. So you're not picking teams. I have to have a winner. I think my number is 7. So the winning team has to score 57 points.
Sure.
And the losing team, regardless of who it is 3. I think it's 7 and 3. Then they have to score 53. So if the score is 57 for the winner, 53 for the loser, boom, I win.
Okay.
I don't know how much I win, but
Yeah.
I didn't. And then the other one is you pick who's going to score the most points in the tournament. And you can pick men's and women's teams. Mm-hmm. So they give you page 1, and I don't have it with me. I picked a men's team for, I think, right up in the top, like a top seed to score a lot of points. And then I actually took like women's Tennessee. But anyway, you can pick 4 teams regardless, men or women's.
Okay.
Those 4 teams, and they both run the gamut. And whoever scores the most points, you win.
That's interesting.
Zabe was talking about one that he's in. I think he and Butchie and some of the other guys get into this, where what it is, it's not the right term, but it's a give up bracket. And what it means by that is that let's say that you have Duke and I don't know, pick a team. I don't know, Duke's playing. So Duke and Maryland, right?
Okay.
Well, Duke is the favorite, and the spread is this. If Duke doesn't cover the spread, and you have Duke in this pool, you pick teams. It's a group of people, right?
Okay.
So if Duke doesn't cover the spread in a game, then you lose Duke. It goes back into the pool, and somebody else can have it. So even though they win, if they don't cover the spread,
interesting,
you lose them. Mm-hmm. Yes.
You lose them and nobody else can grab them.
No. Somebody, and it goes into a pool, and somebody
you have to pay
else.
Like another initial, like a buyback in poker.
I don't know exactly how it works.
As soon as Duke does it, buyback. Here's my $100.
I'm back in.
Yeah.
I'm back in.
Legs, I haven't heard much about doing like the numbers for March Madness, but Dolph was saying when I saw him on Monday that he does a pool where it's $100 buy-in and you get your numbers for the entire tournament. So you get two numbers, and they pay out at halftime and final score of every game.
Oh,
so there's a lot of whoever's orchestrating it. There's a lot of work that goes into it, but he's like, it's really easy to make up your money because there's a lot of different like little individual payouts with it. I'm like, you know what? I would actually be interested in something like that. That would be fun to do something totally different.
It's not halftime. It's just final score.
Just final score.
So I can go back and I can look at Fox Sports.
Thank you.
games that took place on Thursday.
If I had a bell, I'd ring it right
and
now, but I don't in the studio.
Whenever I see 7 for the winner, then I know I won.
Right.
I make all of my March Madness bracket filling quotes as easy as possible now at my old age.
At your old age.
But
you know what? It must be coming around to baseball season because you look tan, you look great. I mean, you're like you're ready to sit in the turkey blind.
I gotta get that turkey blind.
You know, it's interesting. We've talked. I think we talked about this last week, if not last week, recently, about when hunting brings families together, and we talked about how it's kind of changed, and people don't do that as much as they once did. So, I think the NCAA tournament, at least the first 2 days, brings people together. And, I mean, for example, for the Badger game that on Thursday, out of the blue, I got a text from a guy. His son and my son used to play high school sports together. I haven't talked to Mike probably in 10 years. I found out that Mike actually lives close to where I do. He says, hey, buddy, I want to make sure this is your phone number. Having some of the old gang over to watch the games.
Nice.
I'm like, hell yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
And I think it's, it kind of gave me the feeling of, like when we used to get together and people that normally I don't see, but we get together that first week, that first Friday in November of the hunting season, get after it again.
Yeah.
And my family right now, they're doing this for turkey season.
Yeah.
A group that hunts over in Reedsburg. And so we have family in Florida, and they're actually, I found out this week, they're coming up to do turkey hunting. I should have shown you these guys. Speaking of that, I'll get them to you. My brother-in-law just finished up a very successful turkey hunt in Florida. He lives outside of Tampa, and the turkeys are wild, the colors.
They're the Osceolas, right? Yeah. So they're vibrant.
They got a
tiny.
No, his was big. It was big.
Yeah, like 12 pounds.
Yeah. No,
but
I
not
mean,
like 25 pounders that we get
I've
here.
seen. Yes, you're right.
I mean,
but the colors just blew me. My wife's like, look at Alan's pictures.
Yeah.
And they were
pretty
bright.
bird.
It was bright yellow.
That's cool.
It was just it was a totally cool bird.
And that's one of the 4 of the Grand Slam, and that's only one down in Florida. So you get the Rios, the Eastern. You can get all the other 3 pretty. Not easily. You still have to make an effort for it. But that Osceola, that 4th one of the Grand Slam, the only place you can get them is Florida.
You know what? That'd be fun. I'm going to track down Alan this week.
Okay.
I'll see if he wants to hop on the show.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he's an avid outdoors guy. And I would love to have him. He can spin a pretty good tale, let me tell you. So he might, it'd be fun to hear his story about getting this big bird. I'll send you guys some photos and that kind of stuff. Yeah. So, but
that's
it was
awesome.
cool. It was cool.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what's on everybody's mind right now. I made the mistake of, we've had a lot going on with work, so I did not get in and get my extra tag, but I was texting our buddy Patty and was like, well, I sure hope it doesn't mess up my lottery tag because that's the only one I'm going to get now.
He got a few. He texted me, I think, he got 4 and 5 or.
Yeah.
He got that.
4 and 5, yeah. So I just have week 2, which is fine. Little early, but like at the earlier part of the season, but I totally spaced on it and I was driving home and I was like, I'm not even going to try and go online. I'm just going to go right into the old Fleet Farm and I'm going to just buy my tags in person. And
my stepson did that. He's going to hunt with his grandpa and his uncle over by Reedsburg.
Yeah.
And he went in because his grandpa kept on pinging him. He's like, don't forget Will, don't forget Will, don't forget Will. And so I think he's 5, 4, 5, something like that when he's doing it. I think.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head.
Probably. That's right. The later seasons are, they always say, what do they say? The late season is for the true hunter.
Right.
The early seasons are, you can throw out a basketball out there and put feathers on it, and the toms are going to think it's a hen.
When you get later, at least what I was told, and again, my father-in-law's, he's hardcore on this stuff. He's like, the later you go, the warmer it gets, and the less activity and stuff that you see.
And they're henned up. They've already found their hen.
Yeah, unless they're searching again, kind of like a second rut.
Yeah. But I just wanted to bring up something that was ironic. So we all are getting our turkey permits.
Yeah.
We're getting our extra tags and stuff like that. And I shot you guys a text message. In the mail this week, I received...
I looked at that before the show started today.
My duck stamp. My federal duck stamp that I have all of the information here that I purchased on 9/27 of 24.
9/27 of 24?
Here is your federal e-stamp single, Mr. Wagner. Thank you. Well, Yeah, it's really nice. And I know a lot of people are going to say what they do is they actually want that hard copy.
Right.
I know I had it, for when I was out duck hunting and stuff like that, but they want the hard copy. They frame it.
I was just going to say, I've seen that before.
There's a lot of DU things where you can buy pictures.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but this is kind of crazy. 6 months later, I get my federal
177 days later.
Yeah.
So did you write him a check?
Of course, I probably did.
Okay, I would be curious as to when they cashed that check.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I sent my stamp 6 months later, but they processed
they
the
mobile
birds.
deposited that.
Yeah, they got the
spot.
bird in one hand right there,
Yeah, they processed it pretty quick.
Wags,
but
you can wait a little bit.
Kind of neat. I've heard stories about guys with federal stamps. I know how DU does it, all the organizations that protect the waterfowl in the state of Wisconsin, taking those and putting together plaques and stuff. So it's a kind of a neat thing. But for me, I just thought it was kind of funny when we're getting our turkey stuff ready and all of a sudden I get my hard copy of my federal duck stamp.
That's crazy. Yeah, I couldn't believe that when you said, "Oh yeah, it's September," and it just showed up this week.
All right, let's do this. Let's take our first break of the show. Welcome back. Tim Scott is here. Erik Tasker to my right. Paul Wagner to my left. So, are you one of these guys that hate surprises, Wags, or do you want to know?
I don't.
You want to? I told you I had a surprise for you guys. Okay. All right. So my buddy Dan Topol, shout out to my buddy Dan, who owns Topol Towing and Repair, big landmark there in middle of lovely Lake Mills, Wisconsin, where I call home. He has been a long-time member at Milford Hills Hunt Club. And I told you guys that I went out there with Dan and a couple of buddies last year. And so I was with Dano, and Dano said, "Hey, I got some open dates. Would you and the fellas like to join me on a hunt?" And I said, "Well, Dan, you know what? Probably not. I mean, these guys are, they're busy, and Eric's, trying to make house payments, and Wags is trying to get, more pitchers in the major leagues, and so I doubt it." He looked at me and he smiled and I go, "What?" I go, "Of course they're in, stupid." So I've spoke on behalf of us, so I'm assuming, surprise, you guys want to do this.
We'll make it happen.
We'll make it work.
Make it happen?
We'll make it work.
Yeah.
Make it happen? Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Well, I feel like that deserves a little clap. Thank you, Tim.
Yes.
Thank you,
Thank
Dan.
you.
No, not me. Thanks, Dan.
Well, it's your
Dan
connections,
Topol, yeah.
Dan.
That's half the battle, though.
It is.
Now
That's
we
half
got
the
to
battle.
shoot some birds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I don't know if I've ever told this story, but I've only shot at clays one time in my life, and I've shot one clay. I'm 1 for 1, and I never did it again. Really? Because I was like, why? I've got a perfect score. Why would I shoot anymore?
Didn't you miss a turkey last year at Wags
I did,
Place?
yeah. So
I didn't mean to bring that up.
I was kind of prefacing that by saying I hope the expectation is low for that day, but I would love to do that. It's something that I've always wanted to do, and in Milford Hills is just a gorgeous, gorgeous property. So
yeah, it'll be nice.
I was going to tell you too, Wags, that they have that helicopter pad there. So if you want to, I know that's how you roll.
Stop.
So.
Stop.
Fly in, fly
Stop.
out.
Yeah, I got rid of my helicopter.
Why don't you call
I bought a jet, I need a runway
Why don't you
now.
call your old buddy Nagel? You can have him. You guys can helicopter in like the old days. You're not shooting hogs, though. You're shooting birds.
Yeah.
Okay?
Exactly. But as we always joke, we flip over that back of that baseball card, and we know that my helicopter's about a toy Mattel one that I keep in my back pocket.
So anyway.
I just was thinking about that. I was going to say, now, Wags, you can stop. You can get your pheasant pot pie.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just have to check all the things off the list. It might be $40.
Have you had one of those?
But the guys are up there, and
Hey,
we're just
don't
talking.
laugh. I mean, have you? We were talking about this before because you were late to the show today.
Yeah, I was
that's all
late
right
today.
That's all we do in this show now is bust each other's balls, but that's okay. So, have you had one of Al's pheasant pies before?
I've not. No.
Wags has.
Phenomenal.
Well,
Phenomenal.
It's unbelievable how good it is.
Yeah.
They weigh about 50 pounds. Like, you cannot eat it. Like when you see the old Route 66 or eat the old 160 ouncer, I forget what that steak was. When the
old 99.
Oh, the old 99er.
It's on the movie
that.
with John Candy
You
and
eat it
Dan
all,
Aykroyd,
you get it
Great
for free.
Outdoors. Yeah.
You eat this whole pot pie, there's no chance. There's no chance
You're not driving home afterwards.
No,
they'll helicopter you out. That's what they will do.
A 3-hour nap. A 3-hour nap.
The term food coma comes to mind.
Oh, man.
Exactly right. So we're looking
that's
forward to
great.
that. But that'll be a lot of fun. And we teased it during the break that you've been busy over there putting stories and stuff together. What's going on?
Talking about Wisconsin and just some of the things that are happening here, we've been really fortunate just for all of the kind of relationships that we've had, all the interviews that we've done with, Dan Durbin from Wisconsin Outdoor News and HHA and Vortex and just some of these really big staple brands that we've had that are all brands that we love because they're Wisconsin brands. Faraday Outdoors is another one. And there was an article that came out on Tuesday this week, big news in the firearms industry. Henry Repeating Arms, which is just a legacy firearm manufacturer, they are moving all of their manufacturing operations to Rice Lake and Ladysmith.
Oh, wow.
Which I think is pretty big news. They were out in New Jersey. They are expanding their headquarters in Rice Lake and 2 additional facilities in Ladysmith. They're in the process of closing a 3rd location, which is in Ladysmith, but that will be done by summer so they can expand their other 2 facilities. So they're kind of reallocating some land and making some changes so that all of their production now will be done in the state of Wisconsin.
So what was the attraction to Rice Lake and Ladysmith?
Ladysmith is right next to Tony, and they figured they can get Jimmy Leonard to come on over here, build guns, and then run our defense.
Well, it says we're putting all of our eggs in one basket, the Wisconsin basket, because it makes us more efficient, more productive, and allows for more collaboration amongst our design and engineering teams, all while sustaining and enhancing Henry's solid reputation for quality. I think that having multiple locations and design and engineers and manufacturing and production and testing and all of that in different locations, they probably wanted to consolidate, and they had a good footprint here already.
The other thing too, Wags, and I think you can you can relate to this, is that I always heard that with Major League Baseball players, if the money was the same and it was a team that was in the middle of the country compared to the far West Coast or the far East Coast, if the money was all the same, they may pick the middle of the country because it's easier to get back and forth. The travel and that type of stuff. You're not constantly, if you take the money from Seattle and it's the same in Chicago, I'm going to take the Chicago money because otherwise I've got these long damn flights all the time I'm dealing with.
For family and friends, exactly.
Right. So what I'm thinking about, like in the Henry case, if you're in the central part of the United States, it might be easier for distribution, too.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, and then they're not that far away from the Twin Cities, which would be a big hub for them to be able to move, fly things in and out of. And
do either one of you guys own a Henry rifle?
I do not.
I do not either.
Well,
yeah.
I don't either, but whenever I think of Henry rifles, I always think of Westerns. The movies, like the guys, like John Wayne or somebody, and Tom Selleck in one of the movies he did, or that they always have a Henry rifle. When they have to make that long shot, it was always a Henry rifle that they used.
That Henry always seems to be, for me, it seemed to be like it's a pretty gun. It's a pretty gun. Like
Flash.
I know that they donate the NWTF for the Turkey Foundation dinners. I know they donate rifles to the DU dinners and the Whitetails Unlimited. So they're pretty guns, and it's almost, I've always, in my mind, you think of them as Westerns. I always think of those Henry rifles as like showpieces.
Expensive.
Like I'm not going to shoot that.
They're
but
high-end
I got one.
guns,
I won one, but I'm not going to shoot that.
Yeah, and I just think anytime you see a lever action, I just assume it's a Henry.
Yeah.
I mean, I know other manufacturers make them, but I just assume that any of them, because that's kind of what they built their brand on, is that look and that style. And I just, anytime I see a lever action, I always just assume it's a Henry.
So talk about lever actions. I don't know if you remember back in the day, Winchester stopped making, and I know I'm going to get this name wrong. They stopped making the 1894s, that model. That's the, and that's what my 30-30 is. And I actually picked up a Winchester.
That was my first deer hunting rifle.
Winchester 1894. Yep.
30-30. Yeah.
30-30. Mm-hmm. No, it's got iron scopes on it. And then I found one. A guy had it, and I bought it from him. It was that 1894 Winchester, and it had an octagon barrel on it.
Really?
It doesn't mean you can shoot any better. I still miss everything.
At the time, it was advanced technology.
Yeah, that's
for
right.
deer season.
8 sides on it. You know what? I can't shoot a barrel with 8 sides on it. But that Winchester,
I need an 8-sided bullet.
Oh, crazy stories. But yes. That Henry coming to Wisconsin.
That's
Our
exciting,
good friend, good friend Lance Allen's from Rice Lake.
Yes, he is.
So he's a Rice Laker, and obviously we know that Jimmy and all those guys up in that Ladysmith. I had land up in the Holcomb area, hunted a lot where the Chippewa, where the Flowages, met with Joe Flater. I love that area, that part of the country. So if not for geographical purposes, for business, maybe they just love the great Wisconsin Northwoods.
Yeah.
So wait a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm a rifle manufacturer. New Jersey or northern Wisconsin? New Jersey or northern Wisconsin?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Which fits better their theme, their image they're trying to project,
Yeah, I don't know. I love the move. I'm glad that I always love to have these big brands that are so well known and kind of a heritage brand in the outdoors that we get to call them home.
Yeah, makes sense. It does.
It's cool, and I mean, Wags, just like you, I'm very partial to that part of the state. Just having gone to school in Eau Claire and then having this cabin up there in that area and just going back there every year. I mean, it's cool to have that, and cool to have another big flag planted in the state of Wisconsin.
Correct.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Did you guys happen to hear about this a number of times, the corner crossing case for public lands and private lands out west, and how, all the public lands were buying up and they were buying these big square parcels?
We talked about that last fall, I think.
So there's been a decision made.
Was that in Iowa?
Well, Montana was the big one.
Okay.
But Denver has finally made a decision on it, affirming that public land hunters, non-land owners, have the right to cross on corners.
Public land hunters that do not, so they can get to that public access crossing a corner point of private property.
Correct.
Right.
They have ruled it is not legal for these places to buy up, 100-acre parcels, and it basically looks like a checkerboard when you look at the map in some of these
landlocked
areas.
to public. So
it's all landlocked.
So I buy this, and now I really have this public land, but you can't get to it, so now I have more private land.
And this is one of the bigger cases that has kind of been brought to the courts in terms of fighting for public land hunters, that they have finally made some progress with this, and that they've got a Denver judge that has ruled in allowing hunters and outdoor enthusiasts to legally cross at the corners of public and private lands, so long as they do not step foot on the private property.
So what do you do? Build a bridge?
What's always been bizarre is that, okay, I get it. Like, at some point, there's going to be, like a 1 foot by 1 foot square that's going to be that exact corner. So as long as
the dumbest stuff I've ever heard.
It really is.
Isn't that bizarre, though? So you need to know the exact coordinates, I guess. I mean, they haven't really expanded on what this actually looks like yet.
So here's the other part to this, right? Okay, so public land, who owns it?
We all do.
No, right. The state does, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You're a private landowner. You have to answer to whom? The state that you own the land in, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So the state should be going, no. Wait a minute here, okay? Here's the deal. I don't care what size it is. We got to figure out something, because we have to allow our citizenry, our hunters, our nature lovers, our dog walkers, whatever, they got to be able to access our public lands.
Right.
I think it's got to be more of...
What am I missing, Wags?
If you're hunting the public and you harvest an animal and it goes onto private property, I got to believe it. I don't think it's access to get to the public to hunt. It's after you've harvested and taken an animal, what are the steps that you need to do to recover your animal? I think it really brought to force when guys shot a monster elk out in Montana and it went onto private property. He went to retrieve it and the gentleman said, this is my property. That elk is now mine. It is dead on my property. No, I shot it on public. No, you didn't. Yeah, maybe you did. You shot him, but he died on mine. So I know it's a lot different than, trying to get on private or public land, and they say all waterways. So you see guys walking through creeks, going through canoes because water can't be owned, whether it goes through private land or not. In this situation, I think it was due and brought up to the forefront because of the harvesting, not accessing and using it. It was what happens after the harvest of the product.
It's a true story. I'm 14 years old. And we had our 300, and the other 300, they all joined each other in Neighbors 300. Well, he would bring up family and friends from not in the area where we grew up, right? And my grandfather shot a pretty good-sized deer that dropped behind a grove of pines, went across our field to the neighbors behind a grove of pines. And it's our neighbor, you come across whatever. We went over there, and the guy claimed it was his deer, and he shot it. And we know he didn't. There was one shot. That was my grandfather's, and that was it.
Yeah.
And it kind of got a little testy, if I remember right. And they ended up calling the DNR, and a warden had to come out there.
Really?
And he had to sort it out. Yeah. And so, those things do happen. And to your point, that's probably likely why it's ended up to where it's ended up, where you have courts involved now.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it on like a very general grand scheme of things. Where this really came to light was in 2021, a private landowner attempted to block hunters from accessing the public lands. So this private landowner owned whatever portion of that patchwork piece of property. The private or the public landowners or the public land hunters built a ladder so that they could cross over on that corner. And the private landowner said, "You're trespassing. You're going through my airspace."
Yeesh.
And it ended up becoming
airspace.
Yeah.
Oh, so, as Andrew Brandt says on Twitter, there will be lawyers.
There will be lawyers. Yeah.
Yes.
Arguing that they had trespassed by traversing through private quote unquote private airspace by using a stepladder to cross over the corner intersection of public and private land. The 10th Circuit justices concluded Iron Bar, private landowner, cannot implement a program which has the effect of denying access to federal public lands for lawful purposes.
Okay.
So the district court was correct to hold that the hunters could corner cross as long as they did not physically touch Iron Bar's land. We affirm. Gosh. And this ruling covers just a few states: Colorado, Kansas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Utah, and Wyoming. Wyoming was the state where this conflict originated.
Lots of
it's really interesting. I think that I don't know if you're. My view on it is if you're buying those parcels in that fashion and don't think that you're going to have an issue of somebody trying to access those public lands around your property, I think you'd be foolish.
Many folks grilling this weekend, getting their game on, that type of stuff. And if you're one of those people and you haven't picked up your supplies yet, maybe you've got a house full of people either today or tomorrow to watch your favorite teams, wags, wink, wink, in the NCAA tournament, like how I did that. That's why you brought me in for moments like this. You got to go to Bunzel's, don't you, Eric?
Yeah, and they've got specials constantly that they update on their Facebook page. So they run specials typically like middle of the week, but then they've also got stuff that they've been promoting just for, watching or listening to basketball games throughout the weekend. They've got heat and eat meals. They've got, your whole deli full of sausages, wings, chicken, steaks, whatever burgers you might want. Make sure to pay them a visit. It's all good quality stuff. It's nice to have a nice assortment because I think we all have the same opinion when we walk in there. You don't even know what kind of brats to order because they have so many different ones. So it's getting to be that time, and I don't know. I know we all like to grill throughout the winter, but now that we're getting a little bit of sunshine, I mean, boy, it was like 80 degrees and then it snowed 2 days later. So we don't know what we're going to get, but take advantage of that now. And
Did you do any of their St. Patrick's things? Did you?
I did not.
Remember, I'm not a.
No, I was too busy chasing our stations around at remotes all day, so I was more focused on
I had my first green beer poured by Kelly.
Yeah?
At 6:15.
6:15.
Wow.
Here's the wild thing about it, right? So I know they're not good for me, but I'm Wags, you come into my office, you got a cup of coffee. I normally have an energy drink of some type on my desk, right? And so I had just finished one before I went in about 5:15, 5:30. And so then Kelly says, hey, you want to crack I was the first guy
nice
that had a beer, right? So I drank it, and I'm like, what is my body thinking right now? Where, you've got all this caffeine because you're wide awake and rolling with Zabe, and then you pour a little Green Miller Light down the gullet,
Overstimulated.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
A little bit.
My body's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
My body's like, well, you're from Wisconsin, all right.
Yeah.
You can handle it, big
not
boy.
many places you have green beers for breakfast.
You can handle it, big boy, that's for sure. But Bunzel's is the place.
That's great.
Speaking of Bunzel's, when you gave them to me, we threw them in the freezer. You gave me was it teriyaki, brats, teriyaki, and something. I can't remember. Anyway, I'm bringing them out this weekend.
Nice.
Bringing them out this weekend.
Yeah. What were the ones that Drew loves?
Honey mustard.
The honey mustard
Honey
cheddar
mustard.
brats.
Honey mustard cheddar.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're
that
awesome.
was good.
Did you work on any pictures this week from the Bahamas or Jamaica or wherever foreign country they were from?
No, we didn't. We have one kid coming in. And he's a position player, so we're going to see him. But you know what? The season's starting. We were just talking about that before. Eric went by the stadium last night. We had a nice event there. We had macaroni and cheese night or whatever. That guy makes, I don't know what it all, like you can put pork and barbecue and put all these toppings on your macaroni. Build your own mac and cheese. And a great event out there. But our first game is May 9th. It's Mother's Day weekend. We're down in Chicago. The guys start coming in end of April, and the timeline is always based on big league camp breaking, and then that domino effect, those big leaguers get sent down to the minor league camp. And then when minor league camp breaks, the guys that don't make a minor league team get released. So they're all in shape. So our spring training is a very short 10 to 12-day window, end of April, but we get those kids that have been playing for the last couple months and looking forward to it because then it's 100 days, and hopefully the Lake Country Doghounds can get back to playoffs. So
I got to ask you this. So I have a friend of mine who was in an accident when he was a kid, lost his right eye. And so he had to train everything to switch from the right side to the left side to shoot. And over time, he became equally good, in some instances better as a left-handed than he was a right-handed. The reason I bring this up, I was just thinking about this in reference to what you were talking about. The Brewers coming out of spring, and one of the stories out of spring every year, there's some guy or two, and this is this reliever, this Yoho guy. Yeah. Craig Yoho, I think.
Yeah, so it's like 88 miles an hour, but he's got the changeup airbender.
Yeah. This guy was, and I don't know, Hunter Heller, somebody did an interview with him, talked about how he was an infielder. He was a position player, and he decided he was going to pitch, and that's the way he was going to. And he's gotten to the point where it's just a matter of when he gets up. And then I saw this week, is it Joey Gallo?
Yes, Joey Gallo now is not a position player.
He's not
anymore.
A position player. He's decided he's going to pitch.
So the White Sox re-signed him. They released him out of camp, re-signed him to a minor league deal, and now he's going to start pitching like a Rick Ankiel from the old days.
Well, hopefully he doesn't have the Rick Ankiel stuff where he lost his marbles and couldn't do it. But I guess my question to you is, I mean, I know what my buddy went through to become proficient shooting the gun once he lost his eye. How difficult is this to go from being a position player and now you're a pitcher?
I have a great example.
You do this for a living.
Remember, rest in peace, the knuckleballer Tim Wakefield.
Yeah.
So Timmy Wakefield, who had a great career after the Pirates released him, went to Boston and won a World Series in Boston and stuff. He was my third baseman and my roommate. And I'm trying to get to the big leagues, and this guy's playing third base. And Timmy goes, I don't know what to do. What the hell's going on? I go, catch the ball. I go, I'm trying to get out of here. Catch the ball. He goes, I know. It's coming so. I got to back up. I go, I don't care what you do. Just jump.
You're
jump
killing
on
me
it.
here.
I'm trying to get out of here. You got to stop the ball. You got to catch it. So he's terrible at fielding.
Right.
And finally, the Pirates say, "Here's the deal, Timmy. You're a chance is, let's just work with you. We've seen you working with a guy named Woody Heike down in Bradenton, Sarasota.
Right.
He goes, we're gonna
and they were just messing around.
We're gonna
right?
bring the Necro brothers down and all this
yeah.
stuff. And next thing you know, Timmy, I'm like, as soon as I saw him pitching, I'm like, oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Because I don't want him at the hot corner anymore for
Right.
me. Timmy took it on really good, and he had some ups and downs. He came into Pittsburgh, and he pitched lights out for a while in our playoff run in the early 90s against the Braves and stuff like that. Then by about 94, 95, when Barry and all the guys left and stuff like that, and we were depleted, then he left and he went to Boston, and that's where his career took off. But example of it, how hard is it? Hell, I don't even know how to pitch. How could I can't tell anybody you like to switch?
I mean, you look at a guy that, and you know this much better than Eric and I ever will, but of a guy that plays third or plays short, I mean, their velocity is similar to a major league pitcher. I mean, they're throwing the ball across the infield at high rate of speed. But when you step on the hill, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because it is. A guy will be across the infield. Let's just say we go to these things. Let's just say 89, 90, even a 92, 94. They'll go in the outfield and they'll be doing this stuff, and they get on a mound, and all of a sudden they're throwing like 84 miles an hour. And you're like, what happened?
Right.
Yeah.
Where's that strong arm? Where is that? Roberto Clemente. I heard a story about Roberto Clemente. You have no idea who this is.
No, I know who that is.
So Roberto Clemente, I didn't play with him. Okay, so
I was going to say.
I didn't play with him, but in Pittsburgh, I hear all the stories.
He might have been
Roberto
dead
Jr.,
before you
his
were
wife
born.
was great. The whole thing, the Clemente Foundation, everything's great. I heard a story about him. He had probably one of the strongest arms in right field documented. And when he got on the mound, he still was a great athlete from Puerto Rico. I mean, he was still a great athlete, but didn't have that arm strength as he did from the outfield as you did on the mound. And where does that come from? I don't know. It's just different. Maybe it's a mindset or something. But, if your arm can throw 95 miles an hour from the outfield, why can't it throw 95 off the mound?
So I watched a little bit, what day was it, Tuesday or Wednesday, when the rookie phenom that signed with the Dodgers, shocking, the 23-year-old, I can't remember, it's Roki, whatever his last name is, right? He was all over the map, tremendous arm strength. But, again, he was pitching in Japan in front of the home crowd, the pressure being with the Dodgers and that kind of stuff. But I was thinking about when all these stories started bubbling up like this, that's kind of what happens with these guys, right?
Yeah.
They have to make a choice. Either you want to hang around, you want to do this, you have the physical tools. Sometimes it's actually not from the neck down, it's from the neck up, right?
Correct. That's the biggest thing. And it is, everybody has talent. There's a lot of talent. Hard throwers, good pitchers, good hitters. Everybody has it. It's what, and I'm not saying that there's some guy. I mean, there's God-given talent like the Barry Bondses and the Mike
Bo
Trouts
Jackson.
and yeah. But in general, 95 to 97% of the players all have maybe not equal, but similar, assets that they can use and stuff like that. So what happens above the shoulders is where it goes. And that, I hate to go back to the Doc Hounds, but it's hard because now all of a sudden you have all these players that are getting released. And how would you like to be a Joey Gallo? Joey Gallo was an all-star in 21 and 23, and now all of a sudden someone tells him you can't play baseball anymore. It's a punch. He's got a minor league job, which is great. But these kids who get released, now all of a sudden they come down to the Lake Country Dock Hounds or the Milwaukee Milkmen. And this isn't Madison Mallards. This isn't college. We don't still have any. This is your last hurrah.
Yeah.
This is your last hurrah.
Yeah.
And you've got to realize that 30 teams in baseball don't think you're good enough to play anymore. So again, your physical tools are there, but now your mindset is a hard one to get to. And that's the hardest thing, convincing these kids. If you don't want to give up that uniform right now, then you got to bear down, clean out your mind, and go back to what you did. And that's what's hard for guys, even at a major league level with all-star caliber players. Now all of a sudden you can't play no more. What?
So I went down this road for one reason and one reason only. It's you, okay, Mr. Tasker. So hopefully you listened to the last, 45 seconds to a minute of what he said about mindset and where you got to be. So when we have you at Milford Hills,
I was waiting for
and that moment is there,
I was waiting for it.
that you are locked in, you have breathed, you are all set. I mean, right here's your coach. He just teed you up, and all I have to do is
So you
perform.
have to avoid the negative influence. You can't have him talking.
Don't listen to Tim
how'd you
all
miss
day.
how'd you miss that turkey over at Wagner's house? Don't talk about that.
Don't bring it up. We're not
What
even
the
going to
hell
think
was
about
that?
it.
How did you do that? No, you guys are going to say that a lot about me.